Miss Coffee. All right, everyone. Welcome to the lunch break here at FNGO today. So glad you guys can join us as you get on at some point. And of course, if you're listening to us on iTunes and Spotify at a later date when I get this up, we appreciate you guys as well. It is a hump day finally. And I tell you what, it's been one of those weeks. Had a great Livewell last night. I think visually speaking, probably one of our better episodes where we brought out the fish tank and tried some baits. We're going to talk about those baits here today as we get going. Kind of what impressed me, what didn't impress me. Maybe get some feedback from some of you guys that actually watched the show. And just see if seeing baits actually in the tank changed your opinion on baits for good or for bad. So, again, like I said, we're going to give it a few minutes, let everybody get on. Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic work day. Sometimes Wednesdays can be tough for people. They're just struggling, trying to get through the week. Other times, guys are like, yes, it is. It is time to start hitting that downward descent into the weekend. And the weather's nice. What's up, Messick, Coleman? You guys, hope you guys are doing well today. And yeah, we're going to get to talking about that. Cleta said, I missed the tank episode last night. Going to have to catch up. It was pretty neat once people got over the dirtiness of the tank, and that was just, I tried to clean the thing. It's just, we must really have some hard water because today it looks like concrete. That's what it looks like on the tank. I understand why y'all throw the Sakamata now. Yeah, no, I mean, we're going to break it down. And see, hopefully some more people get on here and we'll do that. Fred Ashcraft, Livewell was fun last night. Back to work tomorrow, 412s. Yeah, those are tough. I got a daughter that's a nurse and she has to do those type of shifts and she does it at night. So yeah, much respect to you for that. But anyway, so what we're going to do today, we will revisit the Livewell a little bit last night, talk about it. Y'all should have seen the mess that was on my desk right here this morning when I got in. But I put the packages over to the side, but I left out some of the baits. And we're going to talk about what we saw last night for sure. Then we're going to do something a little different. College football is actually really kicking up. Starting tomorrow night will be your first real games. I know there was a few in week 0, but this is the first week of real college football. And so we're going to do a little over-under pick'ems. I picked out 10 games just to have some fun, see if you guys agree with it. And I'm going to write down what we think and just see how we do. I am not a sports gambler. My son does a lot of it. I do not. And so I just thought it would be very, very interesting. Mad Max Precision Tactical LLC. Watch the tank episode this morning. Order 6 packs of Danny Joe's original floating worms for my shaky heads. And the tactical fish, and there he is. So, listen, that's kind of, I always tell people this. It's kind of funny. We do not have the 100,000 subscribers or, we have a very cult-like following, but we get watched by a lot of people throughout the Southeast and across the country because they email me and tell me, what's up, Alex? But, we don't have the biggest, if you just looked at it on paper. But I will say this. For such a small organization that plans on growing very big, but it's pretty cool to be able to influence, so to speak, people into buying good products. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. So, Dead Rabbit, how you doing, buddy? We've done it before, and it is interesting to see how once people actually see something, because look at it this way. I'm looking forward to watching Emil. Wish I could make it in person to that one. Yeah, listen, Coleman, Emil's been on before. He's one of my favorites. We tried to get Paul Jr. to come on with him, but Paul Jr. is out of town. Paul Jr. is hard to pin down because, he's either fishing somewhere else or he's duck hunting or he's doing something. One of these days, we've talked. The schedule never works out. I'm going to get him on here. But, yeah, Emil will be in here as well. Y'all do a great job. Thanks. And what's up, Eric Thurman? But what's interesting is we're not too awful biased around here. Don't get me wrong. We have our favorite companies. We support some companies. But when you watch a company's advertisement or whatever they put out, whether it be a social media post or something like that, you know going in they're going to make it look good. Tyler Shelnut, can we watch the Livewell in person? Absolutely. Get here before we lock the doors, buddy, and you can sit in doing the whole time. Absolutely. What's up, Doc and Thad? Yeah, it was pretty fun. But when a company puts out, I'm just going to take Tactical. He's here. And I don't think he would mind me saying this. When he makes a social media post or a company makes a social media post, they're trying to sell their product. It's going to look good. Okay. And that's every company. Every company. So, just he's in the thing. I think sometimes when you get a non-biased approach, because like I said, we don't do that, and we actually show you, I think it's more real. I think you actually see, what the bait's doing from a different perspective, of course, than the owner or the social media people of that company. And that's what I'm trying to say. Paul asked, when are you going to have me on FNGO? I was like, oh, man, come on. You're actually going to come on? He's down when he's back. Yeah, I know. Junior's tough, dude. What time did the doors lock? 7 or something? I don't lock the doors till about 10 minutes before the show. So if you can get here by 7:50, if you can get here by 8 and knock on the door, we'll let you in. And you're welcome. Sometimes the best conversations are early, though. They're early, 7 on, and then a little bit after the show. But anybody's welcome to come and watch. 100% unbiased is the best advertisement. Worst a brand can have, if you make good product, it will show. Yeah, seriously, that's it. And we saw some really cool products last night. Really cool. And then there were a few that actually were underwhelming, including, if you want me to be honest with you, one of my own. And I'll get to that here in a second. So let's go ahead and let's get a couple things out of the way. This day in history, we'll do it really quick. 1990, blues guitarist Stevie Ray Vaughan and 4 others were killed in a helicopter crash near East Troy, Wisconsin. And I tell you, a lot of people in that argument, Stevie Ray Vaughan as one of the greatest, if not the greatest guitar player of all time. I still think Eddie Van Halen is, but you cannot deny the talent that Stevie Ray Vaughan had. But yeah, in 1990, today he passed away in 1990 on this day. Very interesting to see the ones that died young, including Randy Rhoads and all that, what they would have been had their career reached, some length. Absolutely. And for those of you guys, I'm going to say this one time on this show and one time only, and I'm going to try to never talk about this again, ever. But I know it's going to be impossible, especially with the NFL season started. Congratulations to Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Good Lord, got engaged. My daughters are Swifties. I can't stand the woman. I think she is absolutely the poster child of what it means to be a crazy woman. And I am not saying that about all women, but that woman I have listened to more Taylor Swift with my daughters playing it and all that. She's got problems. I don't know, but I'm an Angus diehard. AC/DC is good. Angus Young is not the greatest guitar player of all time. But, we can talk. Now you unsubscribed. But good grief. I did make the mistake when Taylor Swift came out. I told my daughters, well, she'll be one and done. Of course, I kind of messed that up a little bit. I did mess that up. But I just want to go ahead and say this, is that now my opinion of Travis Kelce has changed. And that's what I'm saying. I am not pro Taylor Swift or any of that. I don't like watching them on football. I don't give two. You know what I'm talking about. Whether she's in the stands watching her man. All I know is that of the Kelce brothers, I can see why Travis is with her. That's all I got to say on that. But anyway, so yeah, I had to cover it. I have to cover it. We're supposed to cover like some current events as well. But let's kind of talk about the Bates last night. She run out of ex-boyfriend songs to write. It's time to get some abusive husband songs. I thank the Lord every day my girlfriend isn't a Taylor Swift fan. Did you listen? There were women crying on social media when the announcement came out. It's the way of the world, man. No Gen Z word of the day. No, listen, I quit doing that because I think they just jacked up the entire language. And you know what? I'm not going to talk that way anyway. I seriously ain't. I seriously ain't. Now let's talk a little bit. And guys, again, any fishing related topic we can go down, but let's talk about kind of what we saw last night. Now, in all fairness, the way we set it up, everything was sitting on 14-pound trilene. We didn't have the proper heads for everything because I didn't want to have to cut and retie and do this the entire night. So we went with the standard Sugar Hill shaky head. We went one of our Ned heads, Nico spin. That's just to kind of the spin shot, just to kind of show a little bit close of a drop shot. The Moon VMC Moon Eye in one heavy ass weight, but all on 14-pound test. No rod involved whatsoever. Phil Hutchinson did a fantastic job trying to get them to all dance and do the things that we wanted to see. Okay. And here's kind of my take on some of the things. Let me read a few of yours. I can't get over how bad the TRD looked. I would have sworn that Joker would have stood up everyone that I used it. To everyone. Yeah, I'm serious. I'll tell you, we saw Alex was right. That's what we saw. And I think you're talking about the TRD, Alex, maybe. Thad Moody says, if you want a social media post to blow up, hashtag the engagement. That's very true, except I watched a video now with Instagram that says Instagram is going to use the hashtags are not going to matter near as much. But on the other ones, absolutely. Dino says, Big Saturday, go Dogs, and we'll get to that. And Doug Rice is in there. Let me go ahead and just to show that I'm fair and so that you guys know that I'm pretty transparent when it comes to this. Let me grab this one. I don't know if it was the way the line was tied to it, the angle, or whatever. But I was a little disappointed in this 1/4 ounce weedless Ned that I pour. Now, if I sit it right here on the table, it stands straight up. That's what it's supposed to do in the tank. Last night, he had to hit it certain ways for it to stand up. So again, I don't know if it was the environment, the way we were doing it, but I was a little disappointed that it did not stay straight up and down the entire time. So I have to be, before I say good or bad about anyone else's baits, I've got to at least say, hey, listen, I was not happy with one that I poured. But again, it could have been because Phil's standing straight over it. It could have been the line. Somehow I'm going to take it to a pool and try it. And it is the line connection, the way it is. There's several factors. But still, when we put something down in there and I got a camera on it, I wanted it to perform. And it really didn't. So, again, could be a bunch of different reasons why. And it's probably, look, I lay it right here, straight up. So let's just go ahead and start with that. So I'm going to do some more research and just make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing with the way the line's tied, all kinds of things with the proper line on a rod. We'll check it all out. The angle of the dangle. See, and I think that's what it was, Dead Rabbit. But still, if I know the angle of the dangle affected mine, then it had to have affected other people's baits as well. And so there is that little bit of concern that maybe another bait would have worked better if we had it situated better. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be fair. Messick goes, I want one of those flies. Zoom was a letdown. Actually, to me, it was one of those. I wanted one of those flies. I wish y'all would have rigged it up on a drop shot and let the tail kind of flow. Actually, yeah, I've done that before. That is a trick that Farmer taught me. A lot of guys use it on a drop shot around here, especially when it gets really pressured. And think about the floating fly on Carter's Lake or something in the wintertime, where really the only action that's being imparted is the weight, because you got the float, is actually the water itself. The water itself is what's putting action. There's really no rod movement. There's nothing. And so when you drop one of those flies down on a drop shot, same thing. If you're holding tight, and you got contact with the bottom and you're just tight lining it, you have to think of those feathers down there just kind of undulating. Ain't that the right word for it? And that could be the ticket on a very heavily pressured spotted bass lake in certain times of the day. Certain times of the day. So yeah, I wish we'd have done it. But then again, back to the thing, like I said, you know, maybe the way we tied some of the baits up and everything just kind of didn't let the bait live up to its performance. Now, some baits shined, some baits kind of let us down a little bit, but I was not happy with mine. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way so that I can be fair. Last night I mentioned line angle on the TRD, but after looking, I believe it was the hook was too heavy. I switched to a weedless hook and did get a lot less bites on the Ned. Now, this hook, now here's the thing about the weight of the hook. It's a number 2, it's a 2/0 Victory, and it's very light wire. So the hook itself is not heavy. I'm going to research it some more. I know that when I put out, I've done that before with a light, and I think it's just with this heavier head because I've done it with like the 8th, the 3/32, and they will sit there and they will absolutely walk and not tilt over, regardless of where we've tried it. So I'll have to look at that. But yeah, even like with the shaky head, the line angle, it probably was not very realistic considering we make a cast and you figure the line angle is coming back to us might be 33 degrees or 45 degrees or even a little less. And last night we had it like 80 degrees right on top. So that could have affected all of these baits. Now, not with the minnows, because I think we were doing that well. I'm just thinking with a lot of the worm, the TRD products like that. Think about the scope drag of the line too when you're fishing deep. I'm sure that provides a different resistance than water in a fish tank. Absolutely. The cast look good. See, Pinkston, bottom of the lake ain't flat. That's true. I'm a big fan of the TRD spinner on the back of the net. It adds a little something extra, and I wish I had those. Cast and TFC took the win in my opinion, and it opened my eyes on some of the trailers on the jigs. A lot of big brands, not what you'd expect. Okay, let's do this. So let me go ahead and give you my winners, the ones that I liked. And again, I didn't go back, so I'm going to butcher the names of some of these. Okay, I'm going to butcher the names of some of these. But I was impressed. I used to carry Lanier baits. I need to get them back up here. Some of their colors, and I remember back to a very early podcast that I did with LJ, with Jim Harmon, where he was talking about light refraction. And we were talking about, and I'll have to go back. You guys can go back and watch it on the page. This might be like the 6th. Hell, it might be older than that. It's one of the first 8 or 9 podcasts we ever did, pre-recorded one. And he's been on a live a time or two since, and I know we've talked about it. But he talked about light refraction, and he talked about the glitter and all in a bait. And so this was one, and I think it might be, it's either the Obsession or Passion, but also I had one that looked very close to it that said Real Gill on it. It was a little bit, I don't know which one it is. Yeah, it is Lanier Baits who makes a fruity worm. And this is what this is. This is a fruity worm. All right. The Rage Tail did let me down. Glad I switched to TFC. Thad Moody said, yeah, that was Ken's boat. We'll talk about that. But this translucent little worm from Lanier Baits, when we put it down there, now granted, the light, kind of helped all of these accentuate the light a little bit. But I thought it was absolutely amazing how what really stood out. And I don't know if you guys could get the full effect on TV through the camera lens, but in here, basically almost the worm kind of disappeared to a point, became very translucent, and what popped was the purple, the green, the shark, the flakes in it, the gold flake and all that. And I remember LJ saying, if I'm being honest, I remember him saying, and I'm not quoting it specifically, had I done my homework, I would have gone back and watched it, and maybe I will, that when you get down deep on some of these brush piles, the colors change, and bass see it differently than we do. But I remember him saying something about it's the flake in the worms that stands out, and that's what the bass really target on. Dead Rabbit, translucency allows light to shine through the bait, refracting light, offering more of the light spectrum like a prism. Okay, yeah, I can see that. And I'm a simple country boy. So I'm learning a lot of this stuff with you guys. But I really did like, and I might do this. I might go get some more colors, and I might just do some filming on my own with the tank. Um, Maybe before I empty it, I might try to clean it first. We might do that because guys made fun of us last night a lot, and I don't blame them. It looks pretty rough, but you guys got the picture. Um, and I'd like to see that, and maybe even adjusting the light a little bit, up, down, just to see how it. Put a bait, just let it hang, or maybe put on drop shot, let it sit there because this thing did float. It did float. But I'd be curious to see how different light angles changed the reflectivity of the bait. But I was impressed with Lanier baits. Okay, I have to admit, I was impressed with that one. Now this one right here, I think they called it the Private. And this is a TFC bait. Now it had a tail like a speed worm on it. Alex said, take the tail, bite it off, put it on a shaky head. So we did. And it stood straight up, very much like a Cinco. Okay. Now, Steve Billington was in the comment section. He was like, do not bite the tail off, but it was too late. I did what Alex told me to do. I was impressed with it. I was really impressed. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, even without the tail, I still could wacky it. You could, even though it's a little short, you could chicken rig it, maybe Nico it a little bit. But I was impressed with the way it stood up. So TFC got a win in my book. And again, I'm not sponsored by any of these guys. And listen, I'll be honest with you, and I know he's watching. But if I thought it sucked, I'd tell you it sucked. But it didn't. It really didn't. As far as Zoom, I was impressed with the Mag Shaky. Now, I do like the Zoom Mag Shaky because of how it gets so much more narrow on the back end than the standard trick worm. I know a lot of guys will throw a trick worm on a shaky head up here. But I had guys come in like, man, get the Zoom Mag Shaky heads. They're so much better. And so I got them in the shop. And yeah, I mean, it stood up right here. This is a perfect worm to chicken rig. Perfect worm to chicken rig. Absolutely, I think it is. So at least with this Zoom product, the Mag Shaky, I give it a win. Let me get a couple of comments. Let's see. Okay, so that was the Private. Cody Jones, I asked you yesterday about places to fish in my kayak, and I think I'm going to go take your advice and go out to the Rocky Mountain lakes you mentioned. I looked at the lakes on my maps, and on Apple Maps, it just says Selman Lake. So I'm not sure which lake is which, but I'm going to try them out. Any tips for where to start with no electronics? Is there shad in those lakes? There's big gizzard shad in those lakes. So Cody Jones, if you're going into or you're looking down on Rocky Mountain PFA, as you go in, the first boat ramp opportunity that you go to the left, you'll go down there. That is where the I guess it's DNR. I guess whatever. That's where their little station is right there, or their clubhouse, or their visiting center. That boat ramp right there, that part of the lake is East Antioch. If you go down, if you were to get in that lake and go, there'll be a road with a culvert underneath it. As you go under that culvert, now you're in West Antioch. It also has a smaller boat ramp over to the side. Those are the two lakes. So it's East Antioch and West Antioch. Technically one lake connected by a culvert, but in essential two lakes. And this time, man, go start shallow. Start shallow. But because you have no electronics, really, I have more luck in East Antioch. But the bigger bags that I've seen in my life have been caught out of West Antioch. But a lot of them are on the rock piles deep, and you do need some kind of electronics to kind of figure out where they are. So if I were you, it would be East Antioch. And you can start right there at the boat ramp if you wanted to. All right, so, but yeah, the Zoom Mag Shaky Head with a chicken rig, I could see where that would be the bomb. Now, here is that, what was it? Danny Joe's floating worm that Ken pulled out right there at the very end of the show. That is a true floating worm. And if I had the camera on, and I believe it's another brand's floating worm, when Phil dropped it, it went straight to the bottom. It was not a floating worm. It sank slow, but it was not a true floating worm. This Danny Joe's right here absolutely was a floating worm. When put on a shaky head, it absolutely stood up. So I was very impressed. Didn't even know these things existed. Knew nothing about this company until Ken brought it out last night. And so you can see, or you can go back and watch it. It was towards the end of the show. In fact, I think it was the last thing we did last night. But we pulled that puppy up, and it was absolutely perfect. Don't know what colors they have. I do know they were available on Tackle Warehouse. So that got a plus. One that I didn't like, to be honest, the Best Bites. I was not impressed with it. To me, now granted, it had sat in the package for a while, so the tail's a little bent. All right, but that's packaging. That's not anything I did. That's the way. If you were a consumer and you were opening up this worm and pulling it out, you might not can be able to tell, but it comes down, has a bend in it, comes back, got a little bulb tail. But this is what you got, and this is how it came from the company. So I wasn't excited about looking at that. Then when we saw it on a shaky head and all that, there was really nothing impressive about it. I would think this would be better actually on a Texas rig, because this thing laid flat in the water, and it is long. I mean, it is long. I think it's an 8-inch. So maybe it's the length, but there was nothing about it. And it gets narrow like a Zoom, the mag shaky head, but it goes back to this bulb. Now, maybe if we'd had some toothpicks and we stuck some toothpicks in it, it could have helped raised it up. But just out of the package, guys, I mean, and I told you, if I say it stunk, it stunk. I was not impressed at all with this one right here. Again, I think that's better on a Texas rig, and maybe that's the way they want it fished. But around here, shaky head's the king. So that one did not get a 5-star from me or anything. Now, we did the Swagger from TFC, and there really ain't much we can do about it now because it's been torn to pieces, because it is a multi-use bait, but that's kind of what it looked like when it was together. This front, really thick, really close ribs. Here's your egg sac. Here's the backside. The indentions of the worm go out a lot longer, and it comes to this little tail. We threw it as a shaky head, as a wacky, and then we were able to pop this off and do this as a TRD. And I thought this was pretty cool. I like the fact that it is multi-use. I did like that, to be honest with you. I like the fact that there were different things that you could do. And lots of times I have taken other Senkos, and after the hook has torn them to pieces, maybe I didn't throw them off, and I've tried to pop the end of a Senko off and use it as a Ned rig. Really didn't like it. I do like this because it does come to this narrow point right here, and it does give you some action, some quiver. So when we did have this on the weedless Ned, there was a little bit that you could see. You left a fresh one. Did you leave it here? Yeah, you did. Okay, there it is. I'm sorry. So yeah, there you can kind of see it in all of its glory. But you see how it comes down to that taper right there at the backside? This part right here, from here down, is what you can bite off to do as a Ned. We wackied it. I do think with this little bend right here, that if you wanted, even though this Zoom is probably more suitable for a chicken rig, you could Nico this bait a lot, and you could possibly do a chicken rig if you were in a heavy grass situation. But I don't think that's the way they like fishing it anyway. But you can kind of see the Zoom's got a little more wiggle in a chicken rig. So that might be the only thing, thinking about the way I'm fishing. I definitely could whack it, definitely would throw it on a shaky head, and definitely like the fact that I can make it into a Ned. So that was pretty cool. Now, we did do the jig trailers, and that was kind of eye-opening too, because everybody thinks, let me get me a sip of coffee right here. Carson said, Alex, do you ever Texas rig the private? And Alex said, yes. I can see it being Texas Ridge. I like the thickness of it. Now I got some Magnum baits. I'm getting ready to place an order with Magnum out of Texas. You remember we had them on a few months ago, maybe not even that long, and they had like the big 10-inch Senkos and all that, really thick for guys that throw the big swim baits where they want a follow-up bait, but they want a follow-up bait of some girth and some size. So, but this does kind of remind me, the private is thick. It does have some thickness to it, and I really did like it. Where the hell was I going with that? Let's see. Oh, jig trailers. So we had this one, and Alex, you're gonna have to keep saying the names because I put the packages over there. And in fact, you took the packages, so I can't remember all the names specifically. But what is the TFC jig trailer? We took right here. This is a Zoom Fat Albert that's still on the Georgia jig that we used last night. We tried a Strike King Rage Tail, and there was one. We tried a Zoom. What is the Zoom? Good grief, it's over there. I should have wrote it down. But the Zoom Crawl, whatever that is, we had those on there. But I think a lot of people think when they throw their jig out, I'm going to make up some copies of Gee Crack's 18-inch worms. Combat Crawl. That's right, Combat Crawl. Magnum Bait's new Punch Beef should be released in the next week or so, John Alders. Yeah. And so they're bigger baits. And so I'm really interested in getting them over here. But I think everybody thinks when they throw a jig, here's what happens. You stop your jig, the silicone, rivet or whatever, it flares out, which this jig did. But then I think a lot of people think the crawl is sitting up like this in this defensive position, like straight up. Speed crawl, that's what we did. I think everybody in their mind thinks that crawl is down there on the bottom with those pinchers up going like here, here, here. And what we noticed last night, and again, could have some to do with the angle of the line, but when we would stop and give it slack, only a couple of them raised up at all. The Combat Crawl did, and I will say Ken, when we got off camera, and he did say this was his favorite one of what we did last night. And I know there's other brands. We didn't do every other brand. But of what we showed last night, he said that the Combat Crawl impressed him the most. It did have some raise to it. I think it might have got up, and I'm going by memory. You guys might have to go back and watch it. I think it got up to maybe past 45%, maybe a little more. But at least that would kind of give that a little bit of that defensive position. Now, when you put it on correctly, the zoom had a little bit, but I mean, we've done this video before on how to put one of these on correctly. And if you put it on the wrong way, now just like this, you see how if it was rigged like this, how it's tight right there. When you turn it the right way, it spreads out some. I know it's kind of hard to tell right there on camera, but you can kind of see. That's the Fat Albert. If we turn it around, it's tight. Let's see. I mean, my hands are. It's hard to see with that, but it is tighter. And so if you put it on to begin with, it's not going to flare out. It didn't raise up as much as I thought it should, as much as I throw it. We did a Yamamoto too, didn't we? I think we had a Yamamoto. We might have not have done the Yamamoto last night. I think we should. I might need to do one just to see. I know that the Strike King set flat. It just set straight flat. It didn't do anything. It did not impress me at all. Nor did the Zoom Speed Crawl. The Rage Tail and the Speed Crawl, I was not really impressed by those. I throw a lot more of the Yamamoto Twin Tails, but I also think you get the action when you're moving the jig. So it might be more so about the action moving the jig. But I think when we had tacticals up here, it was sticking up, and I'm like, yeah, you can dip those claws in chartreuse, and at least you're getting that little flare coming up. So I actually thought, though, that the Zoom would do a little bit better than I thought. And don't get me wrong, I love a lot of Zoom products. And I have fished with the Fat Albert before and actually sell a lot of them. But it wasn't terrible, but it didn't really go. There was really no wow factor to it. Like, we didn't have anything to open up our eyes and go, wow. So now I forget the name of this one too. This is that one little crawdad that Ken brought. It is a 3D printed crayfish, crawdad, however you want to say it. He took the package back with him. So it was like high def 3 or whatever like that. Now we, in all fairness, um, yeah, I think that worm has PD. Peroni's, yeah, it probably did. Now, in all fairness to this right here, we did not have the right rig to give it anything. But looking at it in person, it's pretty impressive looking. A lot of these new 3D baits are kind of impressive. Where I would see this working more, though, would not be, and maybe it could. I mean, you could throw it on Lanier, out of tuna, anywhere it's got crawfish. But I think this bait would shine in a river. I think with the current to give these little legs something to get these, pinchers up. I think it would work really good in the current. And guys, always remember too, and I'm going back to the tacticals, little backside of the swagger here, any of the TRDs. Sometimes studies have shown that bass are more apt to hit them without a pincher. And a lot of guys will sometimes just go straight with an end of a Cinco. You can do any of the TRD or any of the Ned Head products or the backside of a swagger and put it on a jig. And basically, let me pull off this one, and basically give you, and I'm sure I'm rushing, so I'm sure I won't probably put it on right. Plus, I got my glasses on. I can't see up close with these glasses. They're only for seeing far away. But let me just see how this looks. Let me just do it on it real quick. But now you get something that looks like that. So you can barely see it. You can kind of see it on the picture with my hand. When it flares out, especially if you got a floating one, now you got that little, that little wiggler on the bottom of your jig. Much more, if you're a bass, much less to have to mess with. And I know it. What's up, Phil? Appreciate your help last night with the show. And I know that somebody talked about it. And I don't know if it was Alex or not, or Andrew with that. Somebody talked about how there was a study done and they showed fish in a tank or something. They had the crawdads with 2, crawdads with 1, crawdads with none, and how fish knew instinctively to hit the one with none. Something like that. Those remind me of a yum crawl bug. Just never figured out the best way to rig it. Yeah, and that's kind of like, even looking at it now, I think you could put a light jig head and maybe bring the hook out the back somehow so that it just kind of drug along the bottom and then kind of set up like that. But it's very realistic looking. I'll give them that. Andrew mentioned that study. Okay, so I knew somebody did. Jeremiah gave me an idea. I'm going to use some food dye or a black light and see what scented baits do underwater. Now, there is a company called, I got them. They're over there. It's a trout bait company where the scent is actually the bait. And they do have a tank with a light, and they got a very dark black screen behind it. So you don't have all the junk like we had on ours. But they just put the bait in the water, and you could physically see on the camera that scent dispersing out of that bait. So it is possible. What you mean, what scented do? Are you talking about Jeremiah up there, his thing? And Thad, it might have been you. I talked about it when I was on, I think, and so did Andrew. So both of you guys have talked about it. So yeah, never forget that. We didn't do one of these, but there's always that option. Always that option. Now, we didn't do any of the Ned rigs because we spent so much time really when it got to the swim baits. When it got to the swim baits, we spent a lot of time going back and forth. Yes, sir. I was just getting at what you just said. He wanted to see what scented baits do underwater as far as, like, I think, giving off scent. Wow. Is this a fishing show today? No mischief, Pontoon Jody? I'm trying to be good. It's hump day. I don't mean to let you down, but I appreciate you joining us. Just trying to recap last night because there was so much stuff on the show. Now, we had the Sakamata. Wherever I had the Sakamata out here. Yeah, right here in front of me. So we had the little 4-inch Sakamata. And I will say this, wicked looking. Wicked movement, thin tail, wicked looking movement underwater. Okay. And I do understand 100% why guys would buy one of this, why they would throw it. One thing we noticed, and we were talking to Andrew doing that because we tried to take one of his, and one of his baits that weren't designed for it, and we were cutting the tail. One thing you'll notice on these baits, and it's something to look for in the future too, if the belly of it comes up quicker, you're going to get more action out of this tail. If the belly elongates out through here, a lot less action. That's one thing we did notice that. Jeremiah says, back to the scent, you can see scent disperse from a lure and see how fast or slow it releases, or if it just washes off after being applied. I want to know how long scent stays on. Yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Hutchins said the tactical fish and swim bait and the Sakamata are head and shoulders above in movement. Now listen, I'm going to disagree with you. Phil. I think the cast and the Sakamata, and maybe you got it confused. I think the cast and that, because Andrew was talking about his bait is not net. His bait was designed to go in the back of chatterbaits and things like that. He's coming out with one that's going to do what these baits are designed to do. His bait was not designed to do what we were showing it. In fact, that's when at some point, let's see, Ken got a pair of scissors. You remember? Yeah, it is the cast. He got a pair of scissors and was going to cut into tacticals. But tacticals is not their bait, whatever the name of that is. Again, there's so many of them. But that bait by Tactical was not designed to be scoped with. The one he's coming out with, and he's the one that mentioned the tail. The belly, and how just take this cast, because my two winners of the night on the swim were the Sakamata and the cast. Now, again, this is a 7.5 inch one, and this is a 4.5. I think that was the missile minnow. Yeah, had a great action at first, but less when we modified it. And that's because, again, look at this one right here. We'll look at the cast. I've got my finger on the tip here, but you can see how the belly ends right here on this back fin, giving you a lot more of the tail action right there. And so same thing with the Sakamata shad. Even though this is a short one, the belly ends pretty quick, comes up really fast, and you get a lot more of that action because they're designed for this. Definitely. Berkeley did it with Max Scent, and Bait Fuel did it with the dye experiment. Wonder how what I'm buying actually works in water. And he's back on the scent thing like that. Yeah, it is interesting. To me, I put omega-3 in plastic and on outside. It's going to be all over the hands. Okay, I got you. You're on scent. All right, sorry. It took me a second, dead rabbit, to figure out what you were talking about there. When I look up and I catch a thing, I want to see some underwater homemade fuzzy baits. Cam said that. The Missileman. I tell you what, maybe we'll do a video on some homemade fuzzy baits. We'll try that. And of course, now, I mean, they're putting fuzzy baits in everything. Went down to iCast, Cinco, got fuzzy baits, got silicone all through it. Now it's a new product. Everybody's going with that craze. But maybe we'll do a video where we'll take a couple of name brand ones, and then we'll take a couple of Cincos, some other things, and we'll just run some jig material through them and just see. Alex said the cast was better than the Sakamata shad. You know, I agree too. I agree with you on that, and here's why. Now, I don't know. We might have to be fair. Fly fishing has been doing fuzzy baits for years. That's exactly right. We might have to redo this because this is 7.5. This is 4. And maybe just watching it, you get a different perspective because this is so big. I don't know. I do love the missile minnow. Absolutely, Real Michael. Yeah, no, it's a hell of a bait. But just like what Andrew said, not designed to compete with this on a scope rig, if you're scoping. But he's coming out with one. Definitely more designed to be on what he was using it for, like on the back of a chatterbait, where it absolutely shines. I need to see the toothpick trick in action in the Yamamoto twin tail everyone uses on a jig. Maybe we might do that. Maybe I can rig the cameras up. I don't know about tomorrow because I got a meal coming in and I got to take this whole setup down. But maybe we'll do some of that and just kind of really see. But what I was saying is I don't know if the difference in size kind of lends our opinions and our eyeballs to one bait or the other. If I had a 7-inch Sakamata right beside this, would our opinions be different? I don't know. Or I should have just got a smaller echo, which I have at home, but I don't have here. I love throwing a jig, so I was thinking of flipping a jig a lot, probably a Texas rig, maybe a buzz bait or plopper, paddle tail swim bait, and I'll have a shaky head with me too. Good ideas, bad, something different you'd recommend, assuming water there is a little more clear. The biggest bass I ever caught out of Rocky was a Texas rig mag trick worm in black with blue flake, just pulling along. Josh's personal best is an 8-pound bass that he caught over at Rocky, but it was in the spring. It was on an old monster, red old monster. I think you can do well with a Texas rig depending on it, but I actually, and honestly, I'd go bigger than I would smaller. The buzz bait, the ploppers, you can do that. Paddle tail swim bait, a lot of guys used to throw A-rigs out there. I don't know how that will work on just a single paddle tail. Haven't done it out there. Never had as much luck on a shaky head as I did on a Texas rig. We're talking about Rocky Mountain PFA, guys. And flipping a jig, you probably could, but I personally would probably go more Texas rig. That's just me, over the jig, even over the jig. But it is fairly clear water. Now, I say it's fairly clear. I have not been there this year, and I'm going 100% on what I'm telling you by the past. East Antioch has some timber in the pocket. It has a ledge over there by the dam, but there's not a ton of structure in that lake. There's really not a ton of structure in any of the lakes. I have all the echoes. We can try them. Yeah, we should. Or somebody give us a big 8-inch Sakamata if you can do that. But the winner of the night, seriously, as far as like wow factor, it was the cast. Now, it really I don't really know how well you guys could see it on the TV, but it shined here. There was one point I looked over at Ken. I'm like, that looks like a real fish. And it did. Come to think of it, Yamamoto makes a 10-inch ribbon tail worm with a floating tail. Could be good on a Texas rig that they haven't seen before. Hold on one second. You guys don't go anywhere. Give me approximately 10 seconds. Oh, where's that? Oh, crud. Yamamoto. It says a floater, 10-inch. It's called, let me pull this off. Oki worm is what it's called, or OKJ, something like that. I think that's what you're talking about. So there's a 10-inch worm. Now you can see at the bottom how it narrows and it comes back to a bowl. I should have pulled these out last night because they call them floaters. But my guess would be that was more than 10 seconds. Now listen, guys, come on. How many of y'all actually were counting? That ain't fair. You were actually counting. It was the little scoot waddle off screen for me. Oh, good Lord, guys. Y'all are killing me. I am losing weight. I'm trying not to waddle as much. But you can see how this is that worm right about right here gets narrow and goes back to the bulb. And I would suppose, I haven't thrown it, but I would suppose that it would do, because it says a floater. And I know they have a little floater Ned rigs that was supposed to stand up. So I would imagine that's what they're geared at with this. Okay. But I do have some of those. The amethyst color looked really good in water. Yeah. And that was the one thing I think maybe that stood out more than even the bait action, the color, especially on these Highland Reservoir blueback heron lakes. It has enough translucency. And again, it has the rattles if you care about that, or you can do different things. A lot of guys take the rattles out. I don't know if you guys can hear that. You can take the rattles out, put a nail weight right there. But the translucency and in the water with that light really did make it look like, it was badass, if I'm being honest. Don't let Ryan Hanks know I said that. He still owes me money. He don't owe me no money. I'm just joking. This was the Bojangle bait that we used last night. It's their winged fluke. I don't know if you can see the wings on it, but it's their winged kind of fluke thing. And it had really good action as well. Where I was disappointed was with the Zoom. Again, we went with a small one because we had the Sakamata out. This is out of the package, guys. Uh, my 10 inches aren't that fat. That's a fatty. Yeah, it is. It's a big worm. And you meant the 10-inch Ichi worm, but that's one cool too. I love floating worms on a Nico, and that might work uh, to upsize the rig. You might have to upsize the rig. Here's where I was disappointed with Zoom. Okay. In Zoom, I've already talked great about their mag shaky head. I like throwing a Zoom trick worm. But when it comes to their flukes, here's their Zoom thing. This thing is so bent up because of the way they put it in the package. And I'm sorry, Zoom. I know you're a Georgia company. But if somebody's going to come in here and they're going to buy this bait, number one, guys shouldn't have to boil their flukes. Okay? They're spending their hard-earned money at my shop and shops around. They shouldn't have to boil their flukes or anything like that to get them to look right. I didn't do jack crap with this Sakamata. And you really can't tell. I don't know if you guys can tell. Let me put it down in front of my shirt. You see that little bend right there? Right where the body stops? This is bent. This is your packaging. This affected how that thing looked last night. And I'm sure I might get some hate from that. But, I mean, I'm just being honest. It's the truth. You can't hide the fact that that is a bent product coming straight out of the package. We took it straight off the wall here. I would have sold this to a customer. You got to do better. This, no problem. When we put this on that jig head last night and messed it around, Alex will tell you, it just didn't do well. I'm not saying to quit using Zoom products, Zoom flukes. They're great. You got to do a better job if you're going to come into the finesse world and all that with the packaging. And again, I told you I'd call it like I see it. Now, maybe this was one package out of 100. Okay, maybe this is one package out of 100 that this happens. But this is one customer that I would have sold this package to that would have called me up and go, dude, what's the deal? So, and it, I was kind of unhappy with that. That's crazy because I use Zoom flukes all year and I like them. I do too. Wing fluke equals Mad Dog 2020. Sakamata equals Crown Royal. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Dead Rabbit says plastic durometer and packaging. Or durometer. I don't know exactly how to say that. Now, I have many packs of Zoom flukes, and there's always at least one that's bent. Michael Hefner. That's my point, is you got a great product. Guys should not have to do anything to make it work. Randy Callahan says more like 1 in 3 packs. I'm just saying I grabbed this off. This would have been a customer of mine. That customer would have said, Danny, you told me those wing flukes were awesome. And they're pretty good. He goes, but the ones I got were jacked up. Dude, I mean, that's packaging. Cody Jones, you may have said it already. I stepped away for a second, but would a 10.5-inch old monster still work this time of year? I apologize in advance for all the questions. I like to ask a lot. I've only met one person down here that fishes. I've only been in Georgia for a month. Throw it, Cody. Throw it shallow, throw it deep. Just throw it. It will work. Randy Callahan loved them, but that is a big issue. And Dead Rabbit said, not bitching, but it's just the way it is. I mean, that's kind of the point, is like, I don't want to get on here and trash Zoom because, look, one of my favorite baits for the night last night was their mag shaky head. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I'm sitting here looking at how that chicken rig would look on it, how, things that I could do with this, phenomenal. I'm sure when these things come out of the package right, they're phenomenal. But in this day and age, even though it seems minute, very little detail, it's a huge detail. And it's why everybody thinks this Sakamata is 100 times like what he said. Mad Dog 2020, Crown Royal. It shouldn't be that way. All because of what I see, this one little thing. And if I go to pull on it, I'd have to pull on it. Look, they went the tail. And I didn't pull on it that hard. I don't buy Zoom baits unless it's in person and in my hand for this reason. And I'm not saying everybody at Zoom does a bad job. I'm not saying all Zoom baits are bad. Again, I want to make sure I clarify that. I love a fluke stick. Kind of hard to mess up a fluke stick. But if you're going to do the finesse game with your flukes and all that, listen, I have a lot of guys that are trying to get in the store that they have those molds and they want to start making baits. They want to start making their own baits. They bring them in here. At least out of the package, these guys are perfect. Now, granted, Zoom puts out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands, I'm sure, baits every year. And these guys don't. Now, the Zoom plastic, I'm sure, is far better than some guy makes them in his garage for the most part sometimes. But this right here is designed to be scoped with. You just got to do better. The Softy Worm, was that the Softy Lure Meat Getter? 100% last night. We threw this one. Now, they have it in the 625 and they have it in the 5-inch. One of my favorite things to do is to take the 5-inch and put it on a Ned rig, especially over at Lake Allatoona. Especially at Lake Allatoona. You drag that on the Ned head and expose it. And I'm not talking about one of them big ones with the 5-aught. I'm talking about just a regular old Ned head. Because the worm sits up and you just slowly drag it across the bottom. They work fantastic on a drop shot because they do float. We showed that last night. They will stay like that. Shaky head, they lift up. They will stay. Perfect. I hate Elastec products. I can't stand Elastec products. What was this called? Hold on a second. Let me get the package right here. I might have to sit Eddie down for a second. Bang Stick. Yeah, I want to make sure. Bang Stick Z. I liked it. I actually liked it. Still, when we put the TRD, though, can't stand this one. I don't think you should have to super glue a bait to stay on your hook, but so be it. A lot of guys love it. This was pretty good. It stood up. I mean, it wasn't overwhelming, but it did pretty good. I at least want to give them a little bit. Do we want to see a senior league tour? No, I do not. That's just my personal thing. I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch it. I am more interested in seeing what the guys like Emil, Paul Jr., Tucker Smith, all of them are doing. I like the young guys. I'm an old fart. I'd rather see the young guys. I don't go watch. I wouldn't watch an adult or senior league baseball, senior league football, all that. I just wouldn't watch it. I just leave all my plastics in the original bag, and I never have a problem with them. I enjoy the Elastec plastic when using them as trailers. Michael Hefner. That might be a good point for sure. For sure. Berkeley, the flatworm. Now, one of the viewers said this probably would work better in current. He's probably 100% right. But straight out like it was, not impressed on the shaky head at all. But I know guys, especially up north, slay on these things. And it might be really good on a Ned style head, but the little flatworm, it didn't do nothing for me either. Just visually watching. And you guys can go back and watch it. And maybe I am messing up on some of them. Really, the only thing I was truly, honestly disappointed in last night with some of the jig trailers, the big bite worm, I didn't really like that. We put on a now when we did the Cincos, the Yum, all I'm going to say about this, I know they're cheap, but that Elder Magic color was fire looking under the water. I've thrown a lot of Yum Cincos, caught a lot of fish on them. Yamamoto is still my favorite, 100%. People's gripe with Yamamoto is they're good for 1-2 fish or about 10 casts. And I always say, yeah, you're right. But that's like guys that buy a Jeep and then turn around and gripe about the gas mileage. You should have known what you were getting going in. And I know when I get a Yamamoto, I'm going to get a little more of the wiggle on the way down. I'm going to get a little bit. I'm willing to accept the fact that I'm not going to catch as many fish or make as many casts on that worm. I'm willing to accept that for the action. And I say that about the Jeep because we got Jeep Fest up here in Pickens County this weekend, which is going to be madness because I'm going to see all these damn ducks on everybody's thing and all the Jeeps going, giving the Jeep wave and all that. And most of these Jeeps have never seen dirt in their entire life. To me, a Jeep is an off-road vehicle. It needs to be in the woods. But now it's kind of a classy high-end vehicle out there. The Jeep Ducks make me mad. Softy looked good. I have some in white methylate I bought from Tackle Shop. I've barely used them. You should give them a shot. Their green pumpkin's good too. But we got Jeep Fest up here. A guy was in here the other day, and NC Bass Puller agree. If I'm in a tournament, Yamamoto is the only stick bait I have tied on. And I think, listen, that's what I'm saying. Now, if I'm just going off fun fishing over at Latham or something like that, I'll throw the Yums, trying to figure out a color. But if I'm in a tournament, it's going to be a Yamamoto. What's up with the Jeeps and the Ducks anyway? We asked that question one time. Somebody told us, Jeremiah, it's something. I don't know. Somebody put one on. It's become a cult kind of thing. I don't know. I really hate to fuss at Zoom today. I really hate that I'm fussing about Zoom because it's a fantastic company. I just wish they do their flukes better when it comes to packaging. I feel like that with Crush City products, love them, trash after one bite. Derek Spicer. Absolutely. But, I mean, going in, right? Going in what's going to happen. I know that if I put a Yamamoto on and I can't stand using the ring, I use a number 1 or a number 2, not a 1-2, a number 1 or a number 2 drop shot or wacky hook, and I go straight through. I know going in that eventually at some point I'm going to go to throw it, and it's going to fly 100 foot this way, and then my hook's going to land right in front of me. I know it going in. But I also think that when I skip it up under a dock, especially on Lake Lanier, I'm going to get that extra little bit of wiggle. Maybe it's in my head. I don't know. We saw it last night. It was a little more to it. The one that was dead was the Berkeley General. But I know guys that love throwing the Berkeley General. Now, we did it kind of a wacky. We just let it fall. We did it wacky. But I know guys that love the Berkeley General on the shaky head. It's one of the best shaky heads. Some of these guys will tell you it is the best shaky head they throw is a Berkeley General. We didn't give it that option last night. Throwing it a wacky. If I had to rank them, and dude, I think we put the Swagger on there too. Swagger did really good from TFC as a wacky. I'm pretty sure we did that. But I like the General the least. But then again, like I said, maybe on a drop shot. And there's something about that MaxSense stuff that does work. Now, with the Mag Hitworm, I throw them a lot on a shaky head. I thought the General fell too fast, wacky, but I'm thinking about giving it a whirl on the shaky. Tyler Schiller. That's what I'm saying. I think it would shine on that. Dead Rabbit, softer. Am I saying it right? Durameters or durometers, whatever, won't stay on without being fastened, but I make my own, so I don't care much. That's right. Derek Spicer says, absolutely. That's why I'm still buying them. Yeah, I mean, listen, I know that I hate to say this. I know, and I'm going to try to branch out and try new baits. I'm going to try new baits. I'm going to get me a pack of them Swaggers and throw them. Alex throws them. Alex loves them. I've seen them. They look fantastic. I have never thrown them on the end of a rod yet. So I can't put them into the conversation right this second. 2 times pronounced durometer or durometer. The second time pronounced what you did. Durometer? Okay, maybe I got it right. So if it is durometer, give me a yes in the comment. But right now, without trying some other ones, if I'm going out and I'm fishing a tournament tomorrow, it's going to be a Yamamoto. Period. Again, I have not tried TFC's jig trailer. I am a Yamamoto twin tail guy. Danny, would you rather own a Ranger, Wrangler, or a Toyota? That's a tough one. Not a Ranger, even though I have one. I've owned a Wrangler, but I had the newer one. Not the new ones now, but when they first went back to the round headlights, right after the square ones. Or a Toyota. I've never owned a Toyota. I don't know. But if I had to pick an old one, I'd rather own an old Toyota Land Cruiser. One of them old ones. That's just me because I think they look cool. Atlanta Outdoors said, I tried the Z-Man long shot on the shaky head. Worked good, but it's a dink magnet. I caught 7 spots under 12 inches on them this morning. Now, Rodney Clayton, RoboWorm M3 7-inch. Now, we did put a RoboWorm on last night. Actually, it was not a true RoboWorm. It was a Missile Baits poured by RoboWorm. That's what we used. I did not have a true RoboWorm out there. I could see where it'd work a lot better on a shaky head. That's just me, Rodney. We put it on that kind of the drop shot rig. It kind of didn't give the action that I would like. I could see it being money on a shaky head. And maybe, again, that's the Missile. missile baits poured by RoboWorm, not the true RoboWorm. Old Jeep or Toyota, but I'm a Jeep 4 liter guy. I mean, yeah, Jeep's nostalgic. I'd like to have an old Jeep, but them old Toyota Land Cruisers, that kind of like look like they go across the desert. The old ones, they look awesome. Would love to see you do the tank video with JDM baits. Are they as good as everyone says they are? We might have to do this. We might have to pull the tank out like every couple of weeks and do that, because I think it keeps you guys like interested in seeing that, and absolutely not on my face. The missile worm on a shaky head catches some fish for sure, and I think that's where it would shine a lot better. I really do. I mean, this little thing, I can't even remember what this thing is. Ken brought this, but this little critter right here looked exactly. Let me put it down there. I don't know if you can kind of tell. You have to go back and watch last night. It was one of the first ones. I don't even know what it's called. It's absolutely amazingly realistic looking, and it was one of his 3D ones. 1/8 ounce or 3/16 slow fall rate, they smoke it. 100% Rodney. I can believe that for sure. Danny, if you're going to test more baits, you might want to get an actual bait tank made that is longer. And Paul said it looks like a 2-inch thread fin. It does, dude. This something looks like, 100% it does. Phil, I tell you what, I might want to do that. I sure as hell don't want to pay for it. Dying in the dead of winter, Paul says. Yeah. Listen, we're rolling on a budget here, FNGO. I haven't made them millions yet. But when I make my first million, after a lot of you guys not only subscribe to the channel, but become members, we talked about that last night. If I can get my first million, I'll buy one of them things like they take to the expos and stick it in here. We'll have bass in here all day. And everybody, Papa Cohen's in the house. Paul is. I must have caught him on his lunch break. Now, okay, since we talked about that, we'll talk about more fishing stuff tomorrow. I want to do this because I had a guy ask me, if you were in central Illinois, I'd give you a 6 foot, 125 gram. The hell is that? I don't even know, Dead Rabbit. I'm Southern and I'm slow, so I don't know that terminology. Say that again. The fish that Kenny brought was spectacular on the drop shot. Yeah, that's that little thread fin looking booger. I mean, that's the most, now of all the baits, that's the most realistic one we had last night. I don't know how the hell you hook this thing. It's so narrow. I'd have to see the rig. Oh, gallon. Okay, gotcha. I got what you're saying. Oh, 6 foot, 125 gallon. Okay, aquarium. Listen, anytime somebody tells me they're going to give me a 6 foot or something like that, I got to read it twice. I never know. I would love to have it. But now if I can get my buddy to take me up to Pike County again and let me hunt, we might can pick it up and take it on the way back. I got some buddies that's had a lease up there for 25, 30 years. Danny, you can build a bait testing tank pretty cheap, 2x4 frame with plywood size lined with a pond liner and a plexiglass sidewall to see the bait. Phil, you've seen me up here. I ain't got time to tie my shoes. So if any of you guys want to build me that, I'll give you credit and love on the show. We might do it, Phil. All right, let's do this real quick because I want to start doing this for all you guys to participate. Deer season is almost here. I walked outside this morning and I was like, oh, hell yeah. In fact, I'm going to go home and shoot my bow some more tonight. 100%. Looks like a panorama. It does look like that. It does. All right, so real quick, don't want all you guys to go away, but I want your opinion. We're going to do a pick 'em. We're going to start doing this every Wednesday here. I'm going to pull out 10 college football games. I'm going to give you the over, the under, and as a collective, we're going to pick them. And like when I give you a game, the most, we'll see. Whatever you guys want, we'll go with it. Danny, where did you take your bow to get worked on? I didn't. I should have. Danny, the new weather forecast is showing the cool weather sticking around at least for 2 more weeks. Absolutely. I'm 2 counties north on the Illinois riverbank. That's awesome. I tell you what, listen, I've hunted Illinois twice. That's a different world than deer hunting in Georgia. I got to watch some combine. I still have yet to figure out how the hell a combine works when it goes through a soybean field or a corn field. And I know it uses those little whatever filters in it or whatever, but to see it just go in and just rake the corn up and just shoot the kernel out the top. That is some of the most, a lot of these guys getting that ASMR crap where they're like just sitting there and watching and all that. I could watch a combine cut a field for hours. It was amazing. And the deer up there, Big old corn-fed bucks. I'm telling you, the does in Illinois are bigger than the bucks here. It's astounding. It's a different world, but I loved it. And y'all got some big ass raccoons up there too. I sat in a stand one time, and I hear something coming over the ridge. I had a cornfield in my back, just getting dusky daylight, and I'm like, "Oh hell yeah, here it comes!" I had my bow because they bow hunt, got ready, and here comes this coon that must have weighed 45 pounds. He was so fat, he was just wallering. Goes into the cornfield. About an hour later, he comes back. He's just wallering back. You don't see a lot of raccoons in the middle of the day. This was an all-day sit. About 12 o'clock, here he come with a couple of his buddies, wallering back into the corn. Craziest thing I've ever seen. It was by far the biggest raccoon I've ever seen. And y'all got them big-ass hoot owls up there, too. Woo, 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 that kind of thing. Good Lord. But I loved it. Got a healthy bobcat population now, too. Yeah. I loved everything about Illinois. Now, I wouldn't go to Chicago. I would not have fun in Chicago. I hate big cities. But again, it's like every state. Once you get out of that big metropolitan area, there's some really pretty places in this world. And I absolutely loved it. And you guys have a different kind of cold up there. I mean, it's a different kind of cold. It's just different. All right, I'm going to give you guys 10. And this is what we're going to say. We're going to end this up. Where do I get somebody to teach me to shoot a bow? Go to a bow shop. Go to a bow shop, let a guy set you up, and lots of times they got a shooting range in them. Can at least get you started, give you the basics, and then, find somebody. You don't want me to give you lessons. I can shoot it, and I can hit the target, but that doesn't mean I'm doing it right. I do what works for me. And everybody's a little bit different, but you go to a bow shop. They can get you in touch with somebody. All right, so I'm going to give you guys 10 college football games, okay, since this is the start of the college season. I'm going to give you the game. I'm going to give you who's favored. And I'm going to give you the over-under. And I want you guys, and we got to do this kind of quick, or we'll be here for the next 3 hours. I'm going to tell you who I think, and then I want you to give me your picks. And we're going to figure this out and see what happens. We'll come back Monday and see how it is. Thursday night game. So tomorrow, Thursday night, there was only one decent game tomorrow, and it really ain't a decent one. But number 25, Boise State at South Florida. Okay. Boise State's minus 5.5. The over-under is 63.5. Boise State tomorrow night. I think Boise State will win. How about this? Do they cover the 5? Do they cover? And the over-under is 63.5. So do they cover, and is it over or under? I agree Boise's going to win. Okay. It's Boise State minus 5.5. The over-under is 63.5. Anybody? Bueller? Boise State has returning talent. They cover and the over. Tyler says the under. I'm going to go. It's out south. It's at South Florida tomorrow night. we're going to write this down real quick. I'm going to take Boise for the win. I think Boise covers, but I don't know about the under. I think I'm going to go under too. And we'll go under. Okay, good. That's how this is going to work, guys. And I know some of the guys that want to talk fish, and they've left us. But you dieharders, let's finish this out. 9 more games. Friday, Georgia Tech at Colorado. Georgia Tech minus 4.5. The over-under is 51.5. So Georgia Tech at Colorado, 4.5. Georgia Tech's minus 4.5. Over-under is 51.5. Now, here's my thinking. Colorado lost a lot of talent on the offense. They really didn't have much of a defense. I think Tech wins. I think Tech covers. But I'm not sure about go Tech with the over. Okay, we'll go over. We'll take the over on that. Okay. All right, let's get into the good games right here. Saturday, Texas at Ohio State. Number 1 versus number 3. Ohio State minus 1.5. So they're favored. Ohio State minus 1.5. The over-under, 47.5. 47.5. So who you taking? Haynes King will run all over Colorado. I think that's what I think too. Texas or Ohio State? This won't be popular, but let's go Ohio State. I'm from Ohio. Texas is going to get beat again. Listen, I don't buy the Archie Manning hype. But Texas has got a great defense, and I hate Ohio State. I can't stand Ohio State. So I got Ohio State. Ohio State wins the under. So we got 2, 3 picking Ohio State. Thad's picking Texas. So let's do this. Going with you guys, we're going to go Ohio State. Thad, don't get mad at me. Now, does Ohio State cover the 1.5? If we're going to do that, let's say they cover. But it over and under, 47.5. I'm going Texas, but it wouldn't surprise me if the D wins it for Texas. I'm going to go Ohio State. I'm a dog fan. I don't like Texas. And I know I'm not a pure – I should go SEC. Do they cover? 47.5. It's going to be at Ohio State. First game of the season, probably a lot of jitters. I say that would be, if it's split in half, that's 23, 24. Let's go, surprisingly, let's go under. Just under, because that might be a defensive game. Marshall at Georgia. Everybody knows Georgia's going to win that game, so we'll just go Georgia. But here's the question. Georgia minus 39.5. The over-under is 55.5. Now, guys, I don't think Georgia's going to cover. And here's why I don't think Georgia covers, because Kirby Smart is not that kind of coach. Once the game gets out of hand, he does pull back. We've noticed it before. You guys tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think Georgia does not cover the 39.5. Wouldn't shock me if they did, but I don't think they cover. Gunner hits the over. A lot of you guys are going over. Backups will be playing. Randy Callahan. That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to put Georgia does not cover. Does not cover. And would you go with the under 55.5? Oh, Philip Hutchinson. Gunner didn't suck last year. And let me tell you something about Gunner Stockton. I've seen Gunner Stockton play since he was 5. Like, seriously, like, honestly, with my own eyes, the kid is good. He is good. He's every bit as good enough to be Georgia's starting quarterback. Marshall wins, take the under, Coleman. You're a butt. I'm going to go under. All right, Alabama at FSU. Number 8, Alabama at FSU. Alabama minus 13.5. The over-under is 50.5. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Of course, Alabama, I think, will win, but it wouldn't shock me if they'd lost. Does Alabama cover the 13.5? And do they go the over-under, 50.5? Roll Tide, my ass. I'm going to go – okay, so I'm just going to put my picks. You guys will come back under. That's what I was going to do. I think Bama covers, but I think it's the under. And I'll hurry up and just do the rest of them. And then you guys can make fun of me next week. Georgia State at Ole Miss. I'm going to take Ole Miss. Ole Miss is minus 35.5. But I know Lane Kiffin. So I'm going to say they cover the 35.5. Over under 60.5. I'm going to go over on that one. Okay. All right. Georgia State. Yeah, that was Georgia State at Ole Miss. Sorry about that. Number 9, LSU at number 4, Clemson. Tough one right here. Clemson minus 3.5. So Clemson is favored over LSU. It is at Clemson. The over-under is 57.5. I'm torn because I love Dabo Swinney. I'm torn. And I don't know if Clemson, the hype about Clemson is going to be there. So this is going to be my different pick. Tyler says Clemson covers an under. I'm going to go LSU, so which definitely means they didn't cover, and I'm going to go with the under. Let's just see how that happens. Clemson covers. LSU has lost 4 or 5 openers. Clemson. All you guys are taking Clemson. I got to do one that's different. All right, we got a few more, and then we're done for the day. Virginia Tech at South Carolina. This is a Sunday game because this is a whole weekend of college football. Virginia Tech at South Carolina. South Carolina minus 8. The over-under is 52.5. I'm going to go South Carolina. They cover. And I think the over-under 52.5. I think I'll take the over. Here's one we're going to need some help on. Sunday, number 6, Notre Dame at number 10, Miami. Notre Dame is favored. It's minus 2.5. Over-under 52.5. Notre Dame, every one of you guys in the comments, myself included, could make up the starting lineup for Notre Dame defensively and offensively, and we would be ranked in the top 10 every year. Some years are good, some years are bad. It is the Catholics over the criminal game, back from the 80s or whatever. You think Notre Dame's still that good? Notre Dame in the under. Okay. We're going to take you guys' pick on that. We're going Notre Dame. They cover and the under. All right, last one. Bill Belichick's college debut, Monday night, prime time. TCU at North Carolina. Neither team is ranked. TCU is a 3-point favorite, -3. The over-under is 56.5. All right. Does Bill Belichick come in to North Carolina and absolutely turn the program around and get a win in his first game? Coleman says North Carolina, take the under. I'm going to let a few more of you guys vote on that one. Okay, UNC under. UNC under. Okay, so UNC does – okay. Cheerleader's going to draw his attention and they lose. Thad Moody. Tar Heels, baby. All right, a lot of you guys say North Carolina. So we're going to go North Carolina for the win, and you all said under. Okay. We will see. This is going to be a game we play. We'll have to get a lot faster at it because I know, so excited college football is here. Yeah, for sure. We'll have to get a lot faster at it, but we'll start doing that every Wednesday. I'll give you 10 games. You guys have to be ready. Under, over, we'll do it like that. But let's just see how our picks pan out. And if we could have won some money had we gone up to Murphy and done a 10-game parlay, these games right there. So, all right, anyway, guys, listen, that's I'm going to get back to work. Hump Day, it's here. College football starts tomorrow night. You can watch it after you watch the Livewell, after you're done with us, because the game will still be on, I promise. It's not that great of a game anyway. Got Emil Wagner in the house. So we're gonna take Emil. We're gonna sit him down. I'm gonna pick his brain about what it was like being a rookie on the Bassmaster Elite Series trail. Things that he learned, things that he wished he'd have known going in, all of those kind of questions. You guys, by all means, come and bring your questions for him. We will try to squeeze some juice about the bite, what's going on now. Clint will be here. Tim McGuire will be here. We'll try to see what we can get out of them. A long weekend downloading soon. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a long weekend. Labor Day weekend. Pretty cool. Plus, we got this damn Jeep Fest up here, and there'll be Jeeps everywhere. It irritates the crap out of me, but it's for a good cause. The sheriff up here puts it on. But anyway, so guys, join us tomorrow. I'll have some subject matter to talk about tomorrow. It's just a cool thing to get together with you guys in the middle of the day, just to kind of get through our day. And I appreciate you guys so much. Opening day of dove season here. I'd like to bust some doves. Are you doing a Monday lunch break? Probably not. I probably won't be here on Monday. I'll probably be fishing. But we'll see. We'll see what it's got in store. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe out there. Get done with your work. See you tomorrow at 12. Yeah, Monday's Labor Day, so I don't know that I'm going to be doing anything. I might ride over to my hunting lease in Wilkes County, do some work out there. But anyway, see you tomorrow at 12. And again, go ahead and set your calendars for tomorrow or set your timers or whatever the heck it is you guys do. Tomorrow with Emil here. He's always one of the better guests we have, and I absolutely love the kid to death. So enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate the conversation. We'll see you on the next one. Go Dogs.